Welcome back to Out of the Rough. I'm with Brian Safdari. Brian Safdari is the founder and expert when it comes to college planning, and he owns a company called College Planning Experts. And we talked previously about deadlines. Let's talk about the planning side of your college future, of your financial, of paying for college.
Sure.
Let's talk about what are some things you can do, maybe as a junior or maybe as a parent that's got children growing, getting ready to go, or you're on your own and trying to prepare for it. Let's talk about the CSS.
Sure. CSS Profile, very, very few families know what the CSS Profile is. CSS stands for College Scholarship System. It's administered by collegeboard.com, the same company, nonprofit company, that administers your ACT, SAT scores. So you have to go onto collegeboard.com and fill out a CSS profile if you're trying to qualify for financial aid at a private school. For example, USC requires a FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, but they also require the CSS profile to qualify for additional financial aid outside of the federal grants. So we never want to stop at the federal level to get money because there's a lot more money in the institutional level, especially at USC. And in order to qualify for that, you have to fill out the CSS profile. And the key difference between the FAFSA and the CSS is that they have different deadlines. So parents think the deadlines are March 1st because they hear FAFSA is March 1st. CSS is different. It could be January, it could be February, it could be March. You have to make sure you look at the college's website to find out what financial aid forms are required and what the deadlines are.
Yeah, because there's so many deadlines. We talked about, the Cal Grants, Pell Grants, the Stafford loans, all this, it's, so much to take in. That's why planning is so critical. But when it comes to planning, I know my sister was talking about this one time when she had 2 children in college at one time, both at private schools. And she talked about the expected financial contribution that universities and the government requires or expects you to make.
Sure. The EFC, expected family contribution, is something that the government or the institution, whether each forms that you fill out, the FAFSA and the CSS, or the school's institutional form, it will trigger your EFC based on your income, your assets, number of people in the household, number of students in college, and there's 74 factors that are used based on all the financial information you submit to the schools. It will give you an expected family contribution, which basically means how much the school or the government thinks you can afford towards the total cost of that university.
Now, one of the most important things I want to make crystal clear is you want to do it right. You want to make sure you check the boxes right. But when it comes to planning for this, you can plan in certain ways.
Sure.
One example might be if you're self-employed, right?
Yeah.
Very much like planning on your taxes.
Sure. I mean, you want to make sure you do things legally and ethically. That's the most important thing when I tell a family to plan. When you're planning on it, especially if you're self-employed, you may have more deductions and more write-offs that you can take that can bring your adjusted gross income lower. We had a family that made about $80,000 a year, wanted to go to a 4-year university in California. Last year, they started at Azusa Pacific University. It's a private school that costs $38,000 a year. The family got about $20,000, $22,000 in total financial aid, which brought their costs down cheaper than going to a state school. And what we did was he had about $80,000 of income. He had a lot of net operating losses. So his accountant took a lot of the net operating losses and applied it at the base year for college, which a family's base year is when you're ending junior year in high school and starting senior year, that's your base year. So we took a lot of losses and we brought that $80,000 income to around $70,000 of adjusted gross income. And now the family is eligible for Cal Grant, which gives the family $11,700 per year for 4 years. That was just one of the grants that was out there.
That's a lot of money. And when you think about it, do they, for example, let's say you made $90,000 a year. Do they give partial credit, or it's just kind of all or none?
Yeah, well, for the Cal Grant especially, you have income, asset, and GPA requirements. If your income is at 85, and Cal Grant says a family of 4 has an income ceiling of, for example, $78,200. Mm-hmm. If you're a penny over that, or $1 over that on your taxes, you're disqualified because you didn't meet the
So
ceiling.
it's not a partial, like if you
No.
made a little bit more, they'd give you half the credit. Or,
Correct.
what about, and some people don't realize, some ready to go away to college, is a lot of private universities are less expensive because of grants or endowments.
Well, private schools they've typically raised, especially in 2009 and 2010, which we had the toughest economic times, the private schools raised over $80 billion in private money.
That's with the B,
With the
$80
B,
billion.
$80 billion. That's a big number that the private schools have, and parents can tap into this money, and they don't, because they look at the sticker price and it says $50,000 a year, and they steer away, because anything we do when we shop for a car or a house, we look at the sticker price.
It's the first thing you look
The
at.
first thing to look
right?
at. So, and my parents were the same way. We steered away from the private schools
Right.
because I didn't think I can qualify. They have the most amount of money.
And that's why you have the passion for it. I know, talking with you,
Yeah.
getting money for college was so important. Now, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I know that you do seminars, you do workshops, you consult people that really need to put this all together, especially if you're a first-time, I have 4 children, first time going at this, it's important to consult.
Sure.
How can those watching this actually reach you, website, etc.?
Sure. Yeah, our website is www.collegeplanningexperts.com. We have monthly workshops for the community. We don't charge anything, and we get families that attend the workshop, so you can register online and come to our 90-minute workshop where we talk about how to get free money regardless of your income or assets. So we talk about the whole financial aid process more in detail.
I love it, and there's no cost for that.
No, it's free.
So whether they hire your services or not, they get that information.
Yeah, the information's free, and then if families would like to get more info, then we have consultations for them to take on.
Love it, and it might mean the difference between getting in and not getting in.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. That was Brian Safdari with College Planning Experts. We'll be right back.